Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. JACALYN. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV, and hello to our friends who are listening on Business Talk Radio. I am Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show is Adversity to Awesome. And I'm so excited about our guest today because he's actually been on another one of our shows. He was introduced to me through one of our co-hosts, and I just love when people come back because there's so much more to share. Our guest today is a speaker, a coach, and he is a visionary in so many ways. And I'm excited to bring out Kevin Orosz. Welcome, Kevin, to the program.
Hello, JACALYN. Thanks for inviting me once again.
It's great to have you back. And we've got some really interesting topics that we're going to talk about today. We've got crypto, Web3, polarity, and Tantra. So before we dig into those, I want to spotlight you. And if you could just share a little bit about your background for our audience who haven't met you before, didn't see the other show, please let us know anything and everything you want our audience to be aware of.
Awesome. Thanks, Dr. JACALYN, and grateful to be here again. Last time we were talking a lot about men's work, which is a lot of what my work has been about, is supporting men to reclaim their rites of passage, masculine initiation, and brotherhood. So all men need a men's network, they need mentors, and they need masculine companionship. So a lot of my work is centered around that. It comes from many angles. From the Tantra angle, there is the meditation and yoga side. And that's where I was, when I was younger, backpacking through India and Southeast Asia, and like really being a seeker on this journey and trying to understand the human body, emotion, psychic energy, physical energy. How do we master it? And on the other side, the more practical side, is dating and polarity, which is what I'm excited to be diving more into these days, which is like, what are the tacticals around masculine and feminine energetics? Whether you're a same-sex couple, whether you're heterosexual, it doesn't matter. This yin and yang polarity is there, and this is going to create the most powerful sexual relationships, emotional intimacy, and sensuality that we're all actually craving, no matter how successful you are, whether you're a CEO crushing it or whether you are a single mom or a gardener, doesn't matter. So a lot of my work is dive deep into this, evolutionary psychology, all of the neuroscience around this, and a lot of the Taoist mystery traditions, the Hindu mystery traditions that have a lot to say about how a man and woman can create a super powerful and stable energetic sphere in their relationship. All of this also in contrast, but I think they're actually very supportive of each other, of the metaverse and Web3 NFTs and the cryptocurrency blockchain space, which I've dived more and more into, consulting, creating in that space, really speaking into it, because I believe it is the most powerful, potentially benevolent technology to come around since the printing press, since Web1, when the internet was first birthed back in the 80s and 90s. So this is the revolution that's happening right now. A great quote is that, crypto and blockchain is a peaceful revolution and a restructuring of civilization disguised as a casino or a pyramid scheme. So I'm really happy to be a bard, a speaker, a philosopher in that space, and really help people understand it.
So much to dig into there. I can't wait. So I shared with you just backstage that I had to look up Web3 because I wasn't really sure what it was. I just learned about NFTs last week. I've heard about them, but I wasn't exactly sure what they were. So I'm thinking there are probably other people out there who are wanting to learn more but need a basic foundation. So could you just start with NFTs and what they are and what opportunities exist for whom?
Right. So an NFT is very simple. It's a way to create digital ownership, right? So it stands for non-fungible token. There's a lot of great resources out there. I'd recommend the NFT Bible, which is published by OpenSea, the largest marketplace. You can also find this on Medium. But essentially I'll go to the higher level, because the technicals in the NFT space, there's a lot of controversy, right? There's tons of scams, there's tons of, Ponzi things happening, and there's amazing innovation in art and finance and digital rights. How do we create ownership, whether that's land in a metaverse, like Ready Player One style, or whether that's how do I create a one-of-one rare digital art piece and auction it, or fund a charity, or support myself as a musician, as a digital artist, as a video creator, etc. Now, what's interesting about NFTs is ownership, right, is a contentious thing, but it's essential to most of our society. For example, copyright labels. No one questions when a company, has a copyright claim to a musician, right? You buy one of Jay-Z's albums in the store, or you buy it on iTunes, great, you own that album, but do you own the original? Do you own the rights to that music? No, the record label does. And it's highly centralized, and there's contracts that, in my experience, talking to a lot of musicians and artists, can often abuse the artists and kind of rob them of royalties or what is due to them as the actual creative. What's amazing about Web3 and NFTs is it's moving in a decentralized direction. So instead of having so many middlemen controlling the digital ownership to tons of different kinds of assets, we're talking about music tracks, we're talking about pictures, we're talking about videos. Eventually, we'll be talking about film, real estate. We'll be talking about real estate digitally in the metaverse and physically, because the technology underlying NFTs is what to pay attention to. Don't get caught up in the hype that you see these news articles, bashing NFTs or praising them. Really, it's about the blockchain technology. The blockchain technology is very simply a ledger, but what's different about it than other ledgers, like an Excel spreadsheet or the banking system, is the blockchain is immutable. It can't be changed. It's transparent. You can view every transaction on it while still maintaining anonymity for those that want it. So if you want to remain anonymous and protect your wallet, protect your digital assets, your artwork, you can do that online in these blockchain mediated technologies. So that's where the actual meat of NFTs and the innovation is being driven.
It's really fascinating. And although it sounds like it's complicated, it also sounds like it's very basic.
It is. I mean, it's a very simple way to delineate digital ownership, which we haven't had good ways to do that, right? Facebook and Instagram are quietly and with our consent, unfortunately, by using the apps, owning all of our content and data and information in a quite an unethical way as it's being exposed. So if we want to live in that world, we can invest in these Web2 platforms that are highly centralized, that are doing some surveillance and some things that we don't necessarily like. Web3 is moving in a different direction.
So enter Web3, and we actually have ownership over our own data.
Ideally. So again, we're so early, and a lot of this stuff is very nascent. It's in its infancy. So if you judge it by how it looks now, that's like judging the internet when all we had was GeoCities and Ask Jeeves, right? You hadn't even seen Google yet. So eventually, yes, we want to be able to say what happens to our digital identity, ownership, assets, anything that we're creating with online. If it's on the blockchain, if we own the keys to our wallet, which our wallet is how we access Web3, then we have the availability to control where that data goes. And that's what the blockchain does really well.
So just to see if I understand, before we met, I was doing a little bit of research. So if I post something on Instagram in this Web3 environment, then I would be able to take ownership of that and post it on other platforms or wherever it is I choose, and actually turn it into an NFT.
Yes. Now that when you bring up Instagram, here's the tricky part about Instagram, and maybe this has been updated. Someone can fact check this or research it. But my understanding right now, when you sign the end user license agreement on Instagram and Facebook, Meta, which owns Instagram, they own everything you post. So anything you post is technically their asset in terms of a content or media asset. So that's kind of the tricky thing about Instagram, for example. Now, I still use Instagram. We all use Instagram. It's awesome. That being said, on Web3, not only would you be able to create a social media post, etc., and then mint it as an NFT, which simply just means place it on the blockchain, assign it a digital like locker box, basically, in the blockchain. Think about it like a safe deposit box where it exists, and you control what happens to it. Do you want to transfer it to someone else and give them ownership? Do you want to hold ownership? And what's really cool is, Instagram and Facebook will pay their top 10% of creators, right, to create content. in the blockchain space, and this is where, decentralized blockchain-based social media is on the horizon. It's going to be huge. You will get paid tokens, cryptocurrency tokens, for creating, because you're the one, like on Facebook, you're just creating for free. You're creating content for Facebook that they own for free, and then they're using that data to sell to advertisers to make their money. Facebook is an advertising company. It's not a content company. In Web3, as a creator, especially those of us that want to make a livelihood creating, whether we want to make music or artwork, or we want to do videos, we want to do podcasts, we want to speak, we can get tokenized yield and get paid on those digital assets via Web3 and NFT portals. And there's many ways to organize this. I'm talking at a very broad level.
So let me see if I can break this down just by something that happened to me recently. I was interviewed on another show, and I wanted to be able to get that broadcast so that I could use some of that content to make a sizzle reel. Well, I don't have ownership of that. The platform does that I was interviewed on. So I can't actually get that information. Just like someone coming here, I actually have ownership of the content through StreamYard. But if someone in the general public wants to get a copy of their interview, they can't, because it's owned by the social media at that point. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So now this would enable us to actually, instead of just feeding the machine, so to speak, we could actually put money into our own pockets.
Yeah, ideally. And this is what's termed the creator economy, is, those of us doing creative labor, which is highly valuable. People don't seem to see it as valuable because of this old paradigm of the starving artist, or, only the top percentage of podcasts like Joe Rogan are getting paid the hundreds of millions. But even at the mid level, and eventually at the micro level, we can get paid by attention. Like these applications are farming attention regardless. They're all going to be advertising, even the crypto ones. That's fine. They're all going to be marketing to us. The difference is, because we can cut out some of the middleman and decentralize it, if you have 1,000 true fans and they want to give you $5 and a token, say Bitcoin, per month, they could do that. And we could set up a smart contract, which is just code. It's not a Facebook help desk person that has to send you 20 emails, to automate that and do it in a way that is transparent, is safe, and is completely available to look up by anyone. And that's what's amazing about blockchain.
Thank you for that explanation. Now, you mentioned when you first started that there's some negative press around all of this, and there's some scams going on. Of course, there's scams everywhere, right? But so
Right.
how do people know what to actually invest in? Because you can invest in Bitcoin, crypto, etc. How do they get? You mentioned a Bible about it, but are there things to look for that stand out, and you say to yourself, "Oh, this is not a good opportunity"?
Totally. And nothing I'm saying is financial advice. And I highly recommend people do your own research first before investing anything. It is a very volatile space. It is on the frontier, right? We're headed west. We're on the frontier. We're moving into new territory, new technology. So of course the bandits will hang out in that territory. So there are scams everywhere. Now, in my opinion, some of the biggest scams are the places we just think of as completely safe and cheery mom and pop spots, like Bank of America, and these places that are scamming us in highly organized ways. But that's a whole nother podcast. I'd rather take risk where the innovation and creativity is. Personally, you got to do your own research. I would get on YouTube, I would check out Twitter, and I would get on Discord. A lot of the crypto information is happening on Twitter. If you check out crypto Twitter, read some really good threads. Some of the people I'd recommend, there's a great podcast with Tim Ferriss, Naval Ravikant, who's the co-founder of AngelList, and Chris Dixon, who's one of the main partners at A16Z. These are like tech VC funds. And, Google, there's some of their podcasts. You can find them on YouTube, Spotify, and they break it down in a very layman's way where you can kind of understand the space. My favorite crypto podcast is called Bankless. So Bankless on Spotify. If you want to, they go deep, but they also have some beginner stuff. And the main thing is do your own research, get into it at the level that you're comfortable with, and what's exciting to you. For some people, it won't be exciting to invest. It won't be exciting to trade. That's great. If you're an artist or a creator, you want to check out NFTs. Go check out NFTs, do your research, understand and explore what they can actually do, and then play around. For me, it's it's more valuable to make mistakes and, ask questions and seem stupid when it's a new thing, because that's how you learn. And we're all learning right now. It's completely new territory. So for me, that's the most exciting part about it. And it's all about just, start where you're interested. Don't try to understand all of it at once. I don't understand a ton of it. I surround myself with people that know way more about it. And that's how I'm learning fast.
Thanks, Kevin. And I'm glad that you mentioned that you're not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial advisor. We're not giving any financial advice. We're giving education here today. And one thing that, in terms of education, that we know to be true is that if you diversify and you have multiple revenue streams, that's a great place to be. So when you look at investing your money, this might be a great place. It may not be. It depends on your level of risk and doing your research. We do have a comment from Hyatt Eyes. Hello, Hyatt. Great topic, interesting approach, good education. Glad that you're enjoying it. So, Kevin, you have had quite a journey yourself, and I know that you are an expert in many fields. You can talk on many subjects. One of the areas that I'd like to just go into, because initially when we looked at investing per se, it was all about men, right? Men knew more than women about how to invest, and now, of course, anyone and everyone can invest in any way that they want. But you've done a lot of work with men, and men sharing their emotions, tapping into what we were taught. You're not allowed to express yourself as a man, right? You have to keep it all in. So how does your work with men, if at all, tie into these other areas that you have expertise?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, one thing I am excited about is the number of women getting into Web3 and crypto. So it is happening. There are amazing women creators I support. I'm working with, actually. There's an amazing platform called High Vibe Network if you want to explore a conscious Web3 space that I'm partnering with. So there are women in NFTs and Web3. It's not just tech bro culture, right? But this is where I come in, because I am, by some people's definition, and used to be, a hardcore tech bro. I used to be full anxiety, socially anxious, building my own PCs, in my bedroom and gaming. And, I lived into that world. So I can actually understand a lot of these folks at a high level. And many of them are hyper intelligent, but their social and emotional intelligence may be a bit lower, just because they haven't trained the muscle, not because they are innately that way. So what I find is, in these spaces, using crypto as an example, it is male dominated in a lot of ways. Not male dominated that there's oppression, but it's just the numbers show that it's a ton of men, for many reasons, because the masculine mind loves this stuff. We love technology. We love problem solving. We love creative innovation when it comes to hard problems and engineering and, these complexities. Now, what's fascinating to me is that all of them say the same thing and want the same thing. They want a deeply intimate relationship. They want to date amazing, beautiful, high value women. And they want to, on some level, impress other men in the space, but also attract the attention of women. And so that's actually unconsciously driving a lot of these men. And, amazing things happen when they can actually uncover this and claim their desires at the surface and do some of that shadow work to clean up maybe the ways they're in manipulation, or they're in collapse or hiding, or maybe ways that they're being, oppressive or machismo, and using their wealth, often their wealth and career power, which has gotten really big, to offset and compensate for their emotional or sexual power or felt presence in their life. So this is what I often find, is there's a big discrepancy. And, one of my initiatives and places, again, bringing wellness into Web3, NFTs, crypto, finance, etc., is I want to bring men's work into that space. I want to bring meditation. I want to bring, high level wellness and holistic psychology and understanding into this space, because these people are going to be steering our civilization in a lot of ways. They already are. These technocrats are the people that are at the highest levels of tech and the internet and the infrastructure behind it. Imagine one CEO with 500 employees, which is pretty small for a big tech firm. If he was doing tantric practice, if he was deeply connecting with his partner, if he was doing emotional de-armoring, if he's learning how to communicate consciously and check in with his body awareness, just imagine the ripple of impact that would have on the company, the shareholders and the bottom line, and the people in that company, the culture, the emotional health, and the mental health of that company and therefore the products they're creating. This is really the shift we have to make on the planet. And so the people that are crushing it at the highest level and making the most money, I mean, think about your Elon Musks and his devotees. These are the people that get to be doing more men's work and opening up their hearts and becoming stronger, more embodied people on the planet.
I love that. So many great points you just made. And going back to something you said earlier, if we look at self-awareness, self-pleasure, all these things, have been ingrained in our mind that that's bad. Oh, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't talk about that. You shouldn't get to know yourself. And yet that's exactly what's needed in order to move forward.
Right. I mean, this is the thing that we're still deconditioning in a lot of areas, is the leaving behind of authenticity in the individual for the group, for the culture, for the nation. And this is a big part of what I see happening over the last 2 years, is reclaiming sovereignty and reclaiming, oh, wait, like what is good for me and myself so I can fill my cup, and then what's good for myself, my family, my partner, my community. And that's really what we need to create on the planet.
Absolutely. And Kevin, you just mentioned about some female creators. So for people who are watching, doesn't matter if you're male, female, how someone might be watching this and think, you know what, I could create something and maybe put it on the blockchain. And if so, what do they actually need to do in order to move forward in this area, to take action, I should say? Is there a website that you can go to register something?
Yeah. So the simplest way right now, and again, you're going to need some things first. Like you can't just jump into the NFT space. And I know because I've done it. I've created multiple NFTs, done musical, guided meditation kind of collaborations. But you need an audience already. So if you have a following, if you have true fans, there's a classic model of 100 or 1,000 true fans. If you have that for your creative work or your coaching, your healing practice, whatever, awesome. Now you have to learn and onboard yourself into Web3 so you can help your followers / patrons support you there. And the simplest place to go and start would be OpenSea, which is the major website. OpenSea.io is the largest NFT marketplace. And to use OpenSea, you will need a Web3 crypto wallet. And the one I would recommend is MetaMask. So I would go to MetaMask. If you just Google it, you'll find it. It's a little fox. And you will find, just want to double check the URL. Yeah, metamask.io. So metamask.io, set up your wallet. It's completely free. Make sure you keep your private keys. You keep your private passphrase. You'll get all of this when you sign up. You'll see it. The thing about crypto, you are your own bank. You control your digital assets. That means you have to control security. So your passwords need to be strong. You need to back them up. You need to be solid with this stuff. So create a MetaMask account, connect that to OpenSea, create an OpenSea account. And OpenSea has amazing tutorials where you can go in and see all this stuff and look at it. And it'll show you quite simply how to mint an NFT, mint your first one, and you're going to have to go through a process. You have to pay gas fees. There's royalty fees you can set up. There's fees to the marketplace. And this is all done on the Ethereum blockchain mainly. So you're going to need a little bit of Ethereum in your MetaMask to set this up. And you can just get started. If you have a music track finished, if you have a piece of digital art, you have a video, you can just press mint. Now the question is, what are you going to do with that? What does it unlock? What's the utility of it? And are people going to invest in you, right? Are you looking to sell it as a piece of art? Are you looking to get support? This is where it's just another layer on top of the strategies a creator would already use to monetize their work, add value, and serve their community.
It's fascinating. So for people who have a following, and let's say someone is on TikTok, I'm not on TikTok, but let's say someone's on there and people are getting paid to create, right?
So some are the top 10% of creators that have the most engagement or have proven or signed up in the thing. Yes.
So people who are already creating these videos, they're jumping around in their garage or whatever they're doing, they have people following, they actually could be making money potentially by turning those videos into NFTs on OpenSea.
Yes, again, the big if their following is willing to pay, A, and B, if their following is Web3 enabled. So this is one of the big hurdles that I've been educating on and going through with my own communities, people already, it's like, oh, I don't get TikTok. It's like weird. It's like, yeah, why are preteens doing these weird dances? That's already a barrier. It's like, wait, I don't get TikTok. So, imagine that. And now go to blockchain. You have to set up a wallet. You have to know how to invest, how to buy and sell Ethereum, whatever, and use that on the blockchain space. It's different. So theoretically, what you said, yes, that person could get paid to create valuable content or artistic merit on OpenSea. There's Rarible, there's Nifty Gateway, there's a bunch of different NFT marketplaces. But again, you have to have the people that are wanting to be there. So that's that's the trick. And again, like I'll just plug my my organization. I'm part of High Vibe Network. It's highvibe.network. And you can hop in there, join our Discord. This is a consciousness-based Web3 space with really helpful people that will just help you get set up and started with all this stuff. If you have questions and are just completely like, I don't get any of this. How do I open a wallet? What is an NFT, etc.
So I'm showing this to our audience. So Kevin, anyone can come and join this. You don't have to have certain
This is
experience or
completely free
knowledge.
to join our Discord community.
Fantastic. So I know that you do a lot of work through courses and workshops. Do you have anything coming up that you can share with our audience?
Yeah, I mean, right now I am launching an 8-week program I'm calling Primal Polarity. So primal in that we're going back to instinctual, deeply innate ways. And polarity being maintaining high magnetic attraction, sexuality in your relationship, whether you're dating and you're on the hunt and you're looking at what's available in your tribe, or you're already in a committed relationship. And this is for men and women who are single, and it's for couples. And so this is a customized 8-week course I'm designing right now. And I just did a free masterclass. If you go to my website, you can get that one for free, where I basically just break down what's worked for me, studying this stuff and, battle testing the knowledge in my own relationship over many years, and also pulling from the best of all the traditions and teachers out there who are teaching this stuff. Because unfortunately, and this isn't a popular opinion with some people, there's a lot of confusion between masculine and feminine right now. Whatever you identify as, this doesn't matter on non-binary because it still applies. But a lot of people are just straight up confused, especially in the consciousness wellness space, especially in the coaching space. A lot of folks are very confused. Women are like, where are the men? I can't find a man that is compatible, who wants to commit, who actually has XYZ. And a lot of the men are just like, all the women are shaming me and it's Me Too energy, or I don't know how to be a man in the modern world without offending someone. So we got to go back to the basics. And that's what this program is all about.
That's really exciting. And I know when you were here before, I talked to you a little bit about what's going on with me is that I'm working from masculine energy. It seems like 24 hours a day. And I wasn't even aware of it, but other people were saying to me, oh, I used to be so soft and feminine and sweet and nice. Not that I'm not those things, but I'm really in the masculine energy mode most of the time. So could this end up being a problem for me?
I mean, it depends. If you enjoy it and are thriving in it and getting all your needs met, it may not be a problem. There are some women that live dominantly in their masculine energy, and that's great. Just like there are some men who live dominantly in their feminine energy. I would say, that's something you have to answer for yourself. Ideally, women in business or that are high performers will do this, but the key is to learn how to shift back into the feminine. And you can do that yourself. You can do that with other women. You can do that with a partner. And really, that's a practice that you have to live on the daily.
And do we need to be really cognizant of when we're in which energy?
I mean, I really believe in the flow state. So when you're in a flow state, when you're fully engaged, present, creative, you're not going to be aware of it. You're just going to be it. And so that's amazing when you're doing your work, probably you're in that state when you're creating. Now, when you're socially engaging, whether that's with someone you're dating or someone you're friends with or a colleague, it can be really useful to be self-aware. Because, if you master the art of polarity, you can just travel into any circumstance, any negotiation, deal in business, any friend group, party, any dating situation, and you'll be able to flow and change. You'll either be able to shift yours from yang to yin or back and forth, vice versa, or help other people shift with you and name it and bring a consciousness to it. Because as soon as we put our attention on something, it changes. And this is what's amazing about this work.
It really is fascinating. And you just mentioned that with an awareness, you can help people shift into the other energy, whichever they're in, into another one. Is this something that's a learned skill, or it's just by demonstrating the behavior?
I mean, it's both. A lot of people, like, basically, it's like physics. I look at it as physics. It's magnetism. It's electromagnetic energy, which is quite literally true of your heart beating and your body. There's electromagnetic, piezoelectric energy, and this is emotional. A lot of this stuff is emotional, which emotions are, energy in motion. So a lot of people just have a default state. For example, most women in female bodies I've talked to want to be in their feminine energy more of the time. And most men I've talked to in male bodies want to be in masculine energy. And of course, there's a gray area and there's a non binary space. But I'm talking to my experience of most people, clients, friends, etc. If you're fighting against what your being wants to do, there will be signs. And so the really attuned, aware people with compassion, with consent, with stating your boundaries will be able to help you just shift into that and own it. And so if there's a bunch of people and someone is in their opposite polarity and is getting stuck or getting triggered or having a tough time, the other people can support them to do that. And ultimately, they're going to have to do it. They have to be self-sourced. But these are the practices and techniques of, being more decisive, being more directed, cultivating masculine energy. And then the feminine, it's like feeling your heart more, surrendering more, actually letting go, being led by others, and actually letting that be a powerful practice instead of resisting it or fighting it or needing to control and change everything.
I actually felt myself getting shivers when you were just using those last words, because I just, in self-awareness, I think that I was in my feminine energy for most of my life and I got really hurt. So I think that is part of why I switched over unknowingly to the masculine energy.
Sure, it's very common.
Yes. So, Kevin, as you know, this show is adversity to awesome, and we're just talking about all these awesome things that you're doing. Is there anything that happened in your past, anything that triggered you to want to go down this path, or is this something that was always a priority to you?
Oh, I mean, 100%. This is why, they say your wounds can become wisdom if you really shed light on them. Yeah, I was raised Catholic, so I was taught sex before marriage is bad, you'll go to hell, and I was very into that tradition. Like, I fully believed it. There was a mystical kind of philosophic part looking back from now that I loved, and yet I got caught in the ethics and morals. And so I was in that. Even though I was dating in high school and I had girlfriends, I wouldn't have sex. And so I was like in that repression of my own physical primal energy, which was just a complete mind fuck that caused a lot of anxiety and depression. And then one of those partners who I thought I was going to marry so I could finally commit and have this sexuality, she cheated on me at my university years, and with someone I knew, someone close to me in my tribe. So the sense of betrayal and the codependent identity I created with her was devastating. I mean, it basically caused me to question literally everything. I never was suicidal, but heavily drinking, insomnia, anxiety, completely depressed and disembodied because I was shattered by that revelation, which ended up becoming one of the most, in retrospect, beautiful things that happened because it set me on my path now of questioning everything and diving deep into yoga, into plant medicine, into martial arts, into Tantra, and questioning, all the things we were told. Disney programming, Prince Charming, The Good Housewife, The White Picket Fence, 2 kids, how we're programmed to date and the things we're meant to accept. And this is where the relationship work really lit me up, because I had to understand myself, how I could have fucked up so badly and how I could have been duped by the system that was saying my own body was a quote unquote sin, which is the absurdity of that, the absurdity of placing dogma on the human body, placing dogma on our erotic innocence, our sexuality, which is literally how we were all created. Our first experience was a naked woman's body because we literally came out of the womb, out of the great mother. So that journey and the absurdity of it put me on this path. And there was deep emotional pain, and I'm still learning. I still fuck up, and I'm still figuring this stuff out with my beautiful partner today.
I appreciate your transparency and just being really open with us. I know I was raised that if I did all the right things and I got the gold stars and the good grades and this and that the prince was coming on the horse. He was going to whisk me off. And of course, there was never any prince, and it doesn't go like that. So I think there's some element of storytelling that we would keep being told over and over and over again, and it affects our self-esteem. It has us questioning who we are, and am I a loser because the prince never came? And so I know for me, I probably went to 3 or 4 therapists trying to figure out, like, why wasn't the prince coming? And if you think about it, we waste so much time believing these things that people instill in us, and we come out all confused, like years later, figuring it out after we go on this journey. So if we were subject to a world where we didn't have to believe these fairy tales, or we weren't told these fairy tales, I should say, then we could save ourselves literally decades. But at the same time, we get to go and learn more about ourselves, learn more about life, and find our real passion and purpose.
That's right. And everyone has to do that for themselves and really strive to actualize your best self, your higher self, your God self, your goddess self, whatever you want to call it. And if you do not do that, you're going to have a tough time. That's been my experience. You're doing a disservice to everyone else by not giving your gifts, A. And B, you're just going to be, part of you knows it. Your heart knows, and it'll feel kind of like, ugh, you'll feel stuck or you'll feel off. And this includes relationships, this includes career, this includes, your art, your lifestyle, etc. So this is really it. You have to choose this. Everyone finds their own way. Start where you're at now and go in the direction of your curiosity. Don't try to follow my path or your path or someone else's. You're going to have to cut your own path.
And Kevin, when you're working with people, because I know there are people out there now or who watch us later that they don't want to practice yoga, they don't want to meditate, they don't want to look within, but yet they want things to change. What would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, the inner practices are not for everyone, for sure. It used to be the people who practice yoga, the meditators, the sages, even the shamans, they were a very small class of people. Most people were not doing those practices. And, they're being popularized right now in the West, but that's still true. So that's fine if you don't want to do those things. You're still going to have to find a practice, though. Maybe, yeah, it could be anything.
And the thing is this, I think this is maybe what puts people off, is they don't really want to see who they actually are, because
Right.
then they'll have to do something about it.
That's right.
It's easier to blame everyone else and anything else, as opposed to looking at ourselves and saying, wait a minute, there's some things here, haven't felt comfortable in my body, but it's actually me. It's not the other people.
That's right. And this is the tough part. If you look into yourself and look deeply enough, you'll find exactly what you need to change, do, let go of, create. It's very clear. And I still struggle with this. I'm not an expert on this. I look, and even now I'm like, fuck, again, like, not that, not this, because it's our identity. The ego is a beautiful tool that is a servant to us. We need it. Ego is sacred. You shouldn't kill your ego or get rid of it. Having a healthy ego is part of being human in this world. But you can't let it run the show, because it'll get attached to, I am this person that does so-and-so, and I have this much reputation, because that's not you. That's a false identity. And so you have to constantly be cutting this away, cutting this away, cutting this away, and hopefully align your ego with the Tao. I call it the Tao, the way, or, your heart song, your North Star, God, whatever. Find it and align with it, even if it's uncomfortable. And that's where, yeah, you have to, I really believe in building anti-fragility and resilience, which means doing things that suck, doing things that are uncomfortable. This can look like cold water immersion. This can look like breath work, fitness. This can look like, having these tough conversations with your partner, these tantric practices, these rituals that bring up a lot of stuff. There's ways to build it as a muscle.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I've always thought that whatever it is you don't want to do, that's what you should do first.
Right.
Because it really does make you stronger mentally and physically. Kevin, I'm wondering, with everything you have on your plate, you've got so many fascinating things going on, and you brought really new topics to the platform. So I appreciate it. What's next for you?
It's a great question. I'm in that deep inquiry myself right now. I am putting way more chips and more of my energy and time and love into the Web3 space and the blockchain space because it is, for me, there's no scarcity or there's no FOMO, the fear of missing out. For me, it's the time. So the innovation is here. There's a big wave cresting. And so you can choose to get on the wave now or later, right? Just like, Jeff Bezos was selling books in his garage, and years later, in the Web2 era, the software era, the scaling era, he became the richest man on earth because he got on the wave and crested it. Even when a lot of people were like, "What are you doing? You could work this good job, etc." Not that I support Bezos or I think he's an ethical person. Just using it as an example. There is a wave coming, and it is blockchain. Central banks around the world, massive hedge funds, governments, even Ukraine just legalized it. El Salvador has legalized Bitcoin as legal tender. It's coming. It's the next kind of wave of innovation and technology, which we knew would happen. We just didn't know where it would come from necessarily. So I'm going all in on that. I'm still doing the men's work. I'm still teaching Tantra, polarity, dating. I'm still creating content and speaking my vision, doing public speaking. I'm emceeing retreats and facilitating at events. But I am tip of the spear, moving more and more into the NFT space, into the blockchain space.
That's very exciting. And I just want to mention, we had a show yesterday with a creator. She is a voiceover artist and she's a performer, and she coaches other people in the entertainment space, actors, singers. And what she shared is that many of them are not able to pay for their bills, their housing, food, etc., because they get hired for a short-term gig. Maybe it's a week, it's a month, it's whatever. You go on a tour, and so this could be a great option for people. Again, not making any financial recommendations, but for creators to develop content for an NFT and then put it on to OpenSea, which I have here for people, right? This is another opportunity for a revenue stream.
100%. And the way that artists have been treated by these conglomerates is just appalling. And it's due to our values, right? It all comes back to values. If people don't see value in what a creative person is doing, voiceover, actors, musicians, painters, sculptors, etc., writers, doesn't matter. If you don't see value in that, realize that they are the ones that are in every movie you're watching, every song, all the content you're scrolling and reading, all the blogs, all the podcasts. These are the creatives. Not everyone is a creative, and that's okay, but it's highly valuable work and therefore should be highly paid. And we have to move away from these greed and models of control that we've created in the past that used to work, not so much anymore.
It's kind of interesting because yesterday on another one of our shows, we were talking about authors, and people assume that you write a book, or you're going to write a book and you're going to get rich, and that's not the case. And I forget, it was such a small percentage. I want to say it was less than 1%, but I'm not sure, of people who publish a book sell more than 100 copies.
That's right.
It's so small. So when you think about someone who's putting content out as a singer and then doesn't even get the royalties because the music is available for free on some of these platforms, or after so many downloads, they get X, which is so small. There's no way they could possibly afford any type of existence that would be enjoyable.
That's absolutely right. And part of this is what's called the Pareto distribution, where a small percentage, less than 20%, and it goes to 5%, 1% of anyone in any field will reap most of the benefits. And that's just part of nature and part of the energetics of our planet. Is some people are just wildly talented or wildly hard workers, and their vision and commitment and willpower is at such a high level that they will just accrue a lot of the rewards. Now, The problem though with some of these systems, like Spotify being an example, or some of these are inherent in capitalism, the way it's been practiced. I don't think we have to practice it that way. I think we can make it more benevolent and work for everyone. Is that the rewards are just divvied up and reinvested in that top little percentage, right? And that's not really great for the space. It does drive competition, it drives some innovation, but what's amazing about blockchain is the decentralized distributive aspect. So the people that are able to create, consistently add value, if they really show up, if they invest in the technology, they get in the space early, like right now, and show up, they are going to accrue way more rewards. And it won't just be that 5% or 1% of authors. There will be blockchain publishing deals for books, 100%. Any area where there's copyright or ownership of an asset, which content is an asset. Your creative content, your ideas, your words, your music, your sound, your voice, your image. These are all assets that we can actually tokenize.
This has been a fascinating conversation. I wish I could hang out here with you more. We have another show coming up, but hopefully you'll come back again. Kevin, if you could just summarize for our audience all of the wonderful opportunities that you offer. And I know they can go to your website, but if you could just share that again about the crypto and the men's work and the polarity, that would be terrific.
Yeah, so I coach a lot of folks and I run mentorships that are one-on-one. So if you want to work one-on-one and address any of this Web3 NFT crypto side, I'm not a financial advisor, but I am a creative consultant. Or work more on the side of relationships, scaling your business, building lasting intimacy, polarity, cultivating tantric practice in your dating life, in your relationship. This is what I do. KevinOrosz.com, or my name, Kevin Orosz, OROSZ, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on all these places. And that's what I'm excited about. That's what I do in the background. If you want to get more involved on the side of joining the kind of newer version of this, I am launching an 8-week course called Primal Polarity, which is the tactical, ancient, innate, instinctual ways that men and women, the masculine and feminine, relate and can create a lot of success pulling from ancient and modern systems. And so that's on my email newsletter. If you want more info on that, it hasn't launched yet. And High Vibe Network, highvibe.network is the Web3 platform I'm a part of. So that's really exciting. We're going to be putting out a podcast. We're putting out content, and I would download Discord, which Discord is like Slack. It's like a messaging app. You can join that for free, join the community, ask questions, get the best content and support to, become an NFT artist, become an investor, or just learn about the space and really get wise to the technology that will for sure define this decade, the 2020s, and potentially the more decades to come.
Kevin, thank you so much for sharing all this fabulous education and sparking interest in people. And I know myself, I'm very interested to learn more from you about this because it is coming. And my nephew, he's completely involved in all of this. And so I've learned a few things from him, but I think it's a great opportunity for us to look into it, especially to diversify what it is we're doing.
100%.
So thank you again for being here, and hopefully you'll come back and see us again.
Thank you so much, JACALYN. Have a beautiful day. Really honored.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye. Well, folks, that's just an example of some of the information that gets shared here on this platform. And I'm just so thankful to Kevin and also to Roland Friedel for introducing us. If you'd like to be a guest on this or any of our other shows, please go to our website, usaglobaltv.com. We are going to sign off for our next show, which is the United Kitchens. And we have celebrity chef and nutritionist Ricky McKenna, who's whipping up something amazing for us. So stay tuned. You can stay wherever you are. I'm going to go to the other studio and I'll be back shortly. Thanks again. Thank you, Kevin. Bye.